So I'm just here at Jeremy Zoller's house in South Calgary, and I'm going to be talking to him about his new greenhouse project. So Jeremy's just been building a greenhouse that fits underneath the land use bylaw code, meaning you don't need a building permit to put one of these suckers in. So stay tuned, and we'll be talking to Jeremy about some of his design goals and how he's gone about building this. Hey folks, how's it going? It's Rob Avis here. I'm here with Jeremy Zoltan. That's how you say your last name, right?
Zoller is my last name, but
Zoller.
Zoltan, I'm also known as Zoltan.
I've always called you Zoltan.
Yeah.
Crazy. Anyways, Jeremy runs Sunshine Earthworks here in Calgary, and he took our passive solar greenhouse course last year and our PDC a few years before that. And he's really been kicking up a lot of dust around Calgary here. And he decided this year he was going to build himself a small passive solar greenhouse, and it's not quite done. We're going to profile it completely and get the whole kind of scoop on it. But what do you, just for our viewers, Jeremy, give us the Cole's notes on this greenhouse and what you're trying to achieve and when it's going to be available for purchase.
Yeah, so it's a passive solar greenhouse, so we try to have as much insulation as possible, and then to maximize the glazing as well. My yard is a little bit smaller, so I kind of fit it in my space, but they're typically going to be about 8 feet by 12 feet. That's the profile I kind of want to make. And we're going to try to build them underneath permit code, so there's no need for any permits in your yard. You can just basically drop it in like a shed, and you don't have to involve anything, any authority. And yeah, the whole idea is to be able to use it year-round if possible, if you can have a little bit of extra heat. Either supplement it from your house or some sort of other agent, and use a greenhouse year-round so you can keep growing food and or cannabis with the new legislation.
Right.
4 plants in a secured location, and this will be a secured building. So yeah, and so I've basically been building a prototype in my yard, and we're hoping to test it over the winter, and then we're going to be starting to do production next spring.
Perfect. Yeah, so I really like this greenhouse. As Jeremy said, you're not going to have a permit from the land use bylaw to be able to build one of these suckers. And I did a blog post recently on why you might not want to be growing marijuana inside of your house. And so this represents a really great solution that you can potentially deploy in your backyard. It's going to consume a very small amount of energy just due to the nature of the design. And if you're not in it for marijuana, you can still grow an enormous amount of food in this tiny little space. So I really like this construction style. I've designed a couple of greenhouses like this before, and you'll notice that there are interior studs here. I'm not sure if I'm pointing at the right place. Right here, and right behind it are these cooler panels. And we used to build, as most of you know, I grew up in a cake factory, and so we built most of our cake factory out of these panels. I really like these panels because they're washable. You're not going to have mold growing on them. And Jeremy went to the extra mile and actually put in cedar inside here, so there's not going to be any rot issues. And so these studs are exposed, which means that they've got a lot of air movement around them. So they're not going to harbor any mold or any kind of rot either because of the way that it's constructed. So this greenhouse, I bet you these panels have about an R21 rating. The glazing itself is going to have about R2 probably. So it's going to be the weak link, but glazing is always the weak link. And what's really neat about the way that Jeremy's designed this actually is that this flat surface right here, if you can see, actually allows for a really simplistic thermal curtain if he chooses to put one on here. So he could create a very, very simple retractable thermal curtain that would reduce the heat loss out of here by probably 50% in the wintertime, especially if you put one on the front surface. So stay tuned to the channel. We'll be doing a full case study on this greenhouse once it's complete, and hopefully there'll be some wonderful figs growing in here in the springtime.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Any last words?
No, if you wanna make a change, you have to get growing. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. I'll put a link to Jeremy's website, Sunshine Earthworks, in the show notes below if you want to get in touch with him, tell him how awesome he is. By all means, go and do that. He's a great guy, and I'm sure he'll be having tours of this greenhouse later this year too. So stay tuned. We'll see you guys in the next video.